Welcome back to another episode of NFL News on the Boom Bust channel. I'm your host Terry, and today talking about Shedeur Sanders, who goes in the 5th round to the Cleveland Browns. Man, what can I say? All I can really say is prime time, crime time, lemon lime, Shedeur in 5. I'm just playing. So I was so ready to get this draft over with. More than any draft that I could remember. I thought that Shedeur would go down as the most annoying conversation about a prospect that I had ever seen while covering the draft. But it turns out he goes down historically for a different reason. A crazy fall to the 5th round. After being quite honest, potentially, most likely to some, the second best quarterback in the draft, which I will remind you again, that does not, it doesn't mean the same thing every year. Sometimes the second best quarterback in the draft is not a first round caliber prospect. And this is where you had a situation where at best teams saw him as a mid to late round first round pick, and some saw him as a second round. So either way though, going into the 5th round was crazy. I mean, again, when you're not a high caliber prospect and you have some concerns and the idea that you want to compare certain character things to other, that's not going to work. And this is where a lot of these conversations get derailed. They get derailed in a lot of places, but this is one of those places. It's 32 teams. They look at it completely different. Not only are there 32 teams, there's hundreds of people talking about these decisions for each team. Some teams don't tolerate certain things. Some teams would have never never gave Deshaun Watson the type of deal he was looking for with those types of accusations. Some teams would. Obviously, the Browns didn't care. And so you can't match sins pretty much. Not to say that Shedeur did anything off the court, but there's certain things that certain people don't tolerate. Some people, if they feel that, especially at quarterback, if they feel you're a selfish player, they're not going to go for that. Some teams will. And so you have to factor that in. So matching like, oh, this guy did this or this guy was accused of this, like, bro, that's not going to be productive. It's a lot of dynamics that at play in the draft, and that's why you get most people that look silly because they don't know what they're talking about because they don't really understand or cover the draft. So we got a number of different teams, number of different rosters, number of different decision makers. If you are again a late round, mid round prospect, and there's some stuff that the team doesn't want to deal with, that could absolutely slide you down to the 2nd round. Now, if that's also going on where you got prospects where a team might have you next to or similar or even a little head, then you definitely gonna slide. Now, to the 5th round, though, that's tough. So it gets to a point, because I think most people will tell you, especially at quarterback, if I don't take you on day 2, why would I want you on day 3? I don't necessarily agree with that. I would probably, because to me, the value means too much. And I get that. If it's just a no, where like, hey, I don't want this quarterback at all, then that's one thing. But if you're like, yeah, I would take him, but I'm not going to use a 1st round pick on him. That type of thing. And to me, every team does a ton of different exercises, but I think one of the exercises that are helpful, especially when ranking prospects and figuring things out, is talk about, like, take the rounds out of it. What does this person look like on the team? Would you want this person on the team? If you were forced to have this person on the team, how would we approach, training them and fitting them into the system? Those types of things. So if it's the case, it's like, yeah, I would want them. It's just, I don't know if I'm willing to pay a premium for them. Once you get to day 3, the premium's gone. So I don't necessarily, again, agree, but I know that some teams are like that. That's the thought. If I didn't want you in day 2, why would I want you in day 3? So once we got to the 4th round and he wasn't going, I started to think there's a chance he could have been undrafted. And like, that would not have shocked me in terms of the way things were going. But obviously it would have shocked me overall. It's no secret for those that pay attention. I mean, I didn't do a ton of coverage, but I've talked about this. Shedeur, and as I've been mentioning, not a high prospect for me. And again, I was saying, if this was last year, he definitely could have went undrafted. That's the crazy part. But Shedeur, not a top tier prospect for me. Not a top tier quarterback group. Not a top tier draft class. Like, this draft class, and as some people are saying, is very flat. That's not the term or the verbiage that I use. But you can understand it. It's not a lot of peaks in it. Not a ton of valleys. You got a bunch of, like, baseline players. And as I said before, when I was talking about this draft class, that is the result of all the COVID years and stuff. We are now getting to the end of those players. But even still, not. So again, when we talk about prospects, and you evaluate prospects, you should be evaluating against the whole universe, as they say, meaning that this isn't, hey, Shedeur versus, or, oh, you got a level 4 arm for the 25 draft class. No, you're being evaluated on the same scale to a certain extent, because scales change and should get better. But in general, you're being evaluated on the same scale that I evaluated Josh Allen on coming out of school. The same scale that I value Josh Rosen coming out of school. The same scale that I evaluated Pat Mahomes coming out of school, or Deshaun Watson. Like, that's what it should be. So whenever people rebuttal with, he's not one of the 5 best quarterbacks in this class, I'm like, first of all, that's not what I said. Second, that doesn't mean anything. Like, that's not what we're looking at. And so, I mean, you just got to understand that. If you don't understand that basic idea in the draft, I don't know what to tell you. So I told everybody, yeah, no, he's not. The way they talking about him, I don't see it. Now, quarterbacks get pushed up every year. I say that every time. And when we got into draft season, there was no doubt in my mind that it was possible for him to go top 5, simply because of him being a quarterback. Like, if he was a guard and he was that level of evaluation, we'd be talking about a 5th round pick. But quarterbacks, we know, different position. So I was like, okay, yeah. But, honestly, what happens with a lot of people is the coverage of Shedeur got real annoying. So not only hearing evaluations that don't match what I'm seeing on tape, but hearing it constantly. And then once the NFL, quote unquote, got involved, then people start hearing what I told you I heard. Again, I sat down with a few different scouts, or sat down one on the phone with other. And again, they're not just their opinion, what their building is saying, and also what their other friends in the league are saying. And I told y'all, Everything you hearing now is what I heard. And I try to tell you. Now, um, the one I sat down with, we haven't had the same outlook on Shedeur. Like, soon as I mentioned his name, we both were on it. Same exact outlook. Then we got the article, which YouTube, weirdly enough, wouldn't let me post. Kept deleting my comment. I don't know if it was because it was a link. I don't know. But NFL.com, which I don't think I've ever seen this. Maybe they've done it before. They put out an article on like 18 quarterbacks in the draft. I didn't even know it was that many. And it had a long paragraph for each about compiled of quotes from around the league. And if you read Shedeur's, and you can read everybody else's too, it was incredibly fair. It was incredibly accurate to not only what I was seeing on tape, but to what my scout friends told me. So the idea, once again, that it was this and it was that and it was blah, 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 I'm like, look, it comes down to the prospect. At the end of the day, if this was Jaden Daniels, if this was Caleb Williams. Now, they tried to say Caleb was this and that, but he wasn't on this level. So if this was Caleb Williams telling teams, no, you can't. And I feel like there's another quarterback that was doing that. I can't remember. But anyway, who was it? Well, I know Dion did it also, but I feel like it was somebody else. But anyway, so if this was Caleb Williams telling certain teams you can't talk to them because you're not picking high enough. If you said, hey, I'm not working out at the combine, come to my showcase or whatever, and a lot of people do that, whatever. But I guess the way he was telling people, again, the way he was talking in the interviews, if this was Caleb Williams doing that, he's not going to the 5th round. He's not. And as much as people say, oh, it's because he's cocky, have y'all heard Cam Ward talk, bro? Cam Ward might be, at least on the field, way worse than Shedeur. He went number 1. And so at the end of the day, it comes down to the evaluation. As I said, we got players with real deal criminal and moral issues. We got players with real deal criminal and moral accusations. And they slip and they fall. Mike Green went in the 2nd round. They said some teams took him off the board immediately. Once again, some organizations don't place certain accusations. And so, but he goes to the 2nd round. And so, look, that's just kind of how that goes. And to be honest, with all that being said, because again, it's not a race thing, and I forgot to say that up top. That's to me the late, like this, it's racism. What? Do y'all see Cam Ward? Do y'all see Travis Hunter? Do you see Abdul Carter? Do I have to go on and list the super majority of black players? It reminds me of the dumb conversation that the Bears fans had, and I see the Giants their fans and other teams having this. We'll never draft a black quarterback. I'm like, why? Oh, because we racist. Oh, you racist, right? Okay. How many of the players you drafted were black? How many of your starters are black? How many people make it, or like what the people making the most money on the team? How many of them are black? Are you kidding me? So we got select racism where I'm so racist that I don't want a black quarterback, but I'm not racist enough to stop other black players from starting and getting paid. Come on, man. It's that and then of course we draft Justin Fields, then we turn around and draft Caleb Williams. Those Bears fans haven't been heard of since. So it's that same type of logic when I hear, oh, they're racist towards Shedeur. Why? What about him being black is different than all these other players being black? Please let me know. I'm trying to understand. So anyway, with all that being said, him going to the fifth round is crazy. It's crazy. It was a shocker. It was a shocker. Now, a lot is made about quarterbacks that went before him. I wouldn't say ranked ahead. Jackson Dart probably was ranked ahead, but look, I totally understand taking Jalen Miro. Like that's not the same, especially the team that took him already has a quarterback, so you could bring that guy in to learn. You could bring him in as a run threat for a certain package. Shedeur don't have that type of skill set, so I understand Jalen Miro too. First of all, guys like Jalen Miro get drafted all the time. Anthony Richardson, not saying they're the same player, but look, super athlete, huge arm, that gets drafted. So I could see all three of them, Dart, Ward, and Miro. Didn't watch Shaw, whatever you say his name. Didn't watch him, but I know that a lot of people liked him. Um, Dylan Gabriel, that's the one where I'm like, yo, yeah, no. And I didn't watch him a ton either, but from what I watched and what I heard, and I mean by NFL people, yeah, that one was like, yeah, that's crazy. But then what makes it even crazier is he got drafted by the team that also drafted Shedeur. So it's interesting. But yeah, I mean, to get down to it, again, it's not racism. That doesn't make any sense. Is it personal? Definitely. There's, and I, by me, excuse me, by personal, well, here's what some people would say. The decision wasn't about football. It was and it wasn't. Like I said, it wasn't majority about football, but it still involves football. At the end of the day, look, some teams don't want that in their locker room. First of all, you got to look at the teams that don't need a quarterback, weren't going to use a pick on a quarterback. Then you got to look at the teams that already drafted a quarterback or might have had somebody higher up. So obviously the Titans, the Giants, or really the Giants traded back, but still, but they got their quarterbacks. So you look at the pool continue to shrink. And then at that point, you're saying, okay, if I'm a team that is going to bring him in as a backup, this is what teams are saying, do I want that distraction? We've seen the exact same thing with Tim Tebow. We've seen the exact same thing with Cam Newton. We've seen, I wouldn't say Aaron Rodgers because he's always kind of been a starter, but we've seen that where it's like, hey, this is going to be a backup. We don't want that type of distraction. I was going to say Jameis Winston, but anyway, so we don't want that type of distraction. And so that's a legit thing. So then you got to factor those teams in. But I think at the end of the day, teams, for a lot of reasons, did not like the way Shedeur handled himself during the process. And that has to also play in conjunction with his lack of status as a prospect. It just does. So then the question becomes, is it wrong? Is it unfair? Blah, 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 for these teams to feel that way. Now, to say it was something with his dad and all, here's the thing. I'm not going there necessarily in this terms. The idea that, a coach wouldn't want him there because then he's going to get on the microphone and talk about how bad the coach is doing, and people are going to start calling for Dion to be the coach. The coach don't have that type of sway in every single team. First of all, you got the coaches that are locked in their position, wouldn't have to worry about that. And then you got the teams where the coach ain't making that decision. If the owner wants Shedeur, the coach ain't going to talk them out of it. So there's that. So in that aspect, I don't know that Dion thing is true. Now, other stuff with Dion, I don't know, maybe. But It's tough, man. It's tough. I don't have a solid conclusion. I don't know that I will. I do think there was a number of factors that all come together, but fifth round is tough. The only thing that I could say is that um, if you don't make it in the third round, then or really the second round. If you didn't get drafted in the second round, then 3, 4, 5 is kind of up in the air. But yeah, it's tough. So I mean, look, people want to talk about collusion. That's the hot button. I don't really know how that looks though. You know what I mean? I just don't. I don't really know what that looks like in operation. Um, I guess they had, what did they have, a league meeting? I don't think it was the owners meeting. They had some type of meeting. So maybe you want to say the owners got together there and was like, hey, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't know. But I don't know what operationally collusion looks like in terms of like literally just somebody, because people love to say something, but I need somebody to walk me through how this works and how this looks. Because if I'm sitting there, first of all, I don't know who's the one that's like, hey, you know what? F Shedeur, let's start the collusion. Okay, so then what happens? Like, what do? You can't put that in email, text, phone call, like, again. So like I said, owners meeting, we want to go there. Okay, owners meeting. Hey, pass the word. We got that secret meeting tonight with the owner. I don't know. Somebody tell me how they think collusion actually plays itself out. Um, and then the other thing for me, like, yeah, I get it, the public perception and embarrassment. But for me, I'm always team. It doesn't matter when you go; it's where you go. So if you go if you go as the first pick, or you go in the sixth round, once you get on the field, it's gonna talk. Like, the draft status don't matter when you get out there with them grown men trying to make paychecks and them grown coaches trying to make paychecks. So if it doesn't matter what Dylan Gabriel's draft number is, that's not going to pass the ball for him in camp. So if he really is better, they'll see it every day. So that's the beauty of this thing, is that at the end of the day, you get to play. But I won't say what's the point of collusion, because I do understand that the whole experience could be, the whole experience could be enough of an embarrassment to send a message and everything. So I get it. I get why people think that. I just don't know how that works operationally. And I don't know that Shedeur did anything that important, because if you listen to the peoples in the NFL, there's a lot of teams that did not do work on Shedeur. Again, number of teams with quarterbacks, long-term quarterbacks, they're not interviewing Shedeur. Obviously, he only selected certain interviews, but they're not even attempting. They're not going to Colorado. They're not going to a showcase. They're not talking to coaches. There's a number of teams that didn't do no work on Shedeur and don't need Shedeur, and again, weren't going to consider him as a backup. So then we're talking about selective collusion of teams that could have used him realistically on the roster, and I don't know, man. I don't know, that it's a little far-fetched to me. It's a little far-fetched to me. So it might just have been the perfect storm, and really not, because the perfect storm would have been last year. If this happened last year, I would be like 20% less shocked, because I really think he would have went undrafted in last year's draft. So if this whole situation played itself out, I should say. So you went to like a super weak quarterback class and a weak class overall. He came out in the perfect class to get a high status, but obviously it didn't play out that way. So I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, I ain't give a good explanation. I wasn't necessarily here to explain because I don't know exactly what it is, but I guess what I can say is racism is ridiculous. Collusion is just hard for me to see. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of left searching for answers too. But I guess I would have to sit down with the 32 teams and really break down, like, not only how many actually were in the market for Shedeur, but how many, or not how many, but what decisions did they make over Shedeur? Because again, the Dylan Gabriel is easy for people to talk about. The Tyler Shaw, that's probably easy for people to talk about as well. And maybe Jalen Miro, but I don't know who really thought the Seattle would take Shedeur in that situation. I don't think that makes sense. They just paid Sam Darnold. But even if you threw him in, okay, sure. But the rest of them, I would have to sit down and look at like the actual players, the value, and be like, okay, yeah, like the needs versus, that's what I'm saying. There's so many factors. People really, especially when we get to things like this, people act like these teams are ran by Goodell. That's not how that works, bro. There's 32 very different, very powerful personalities. And then there's hundreds of people in each organization. There's so many factors that go into it. But it's for sure that they didn't like the way he got down. Like, they didn't like the way he got down, and they didn't want that in their locker room. Uh Again, racism, silly, collusion. I don't know, maybe. Anyway, go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.